Good afternoon. My name is Liette, and I am happy to share with you today of how to make some of these little rosettes. They're great to add to any of your craft projects. They're great to add to any card making, and actually fairly simple to make. So let's get started. The first thing that we want to do is you want to start with, we're going to do a slightly larger one, a white one. You want to punch out 5 flowers. What I've used for this, I've used this punch to do this one. So you want to do 5 of these, and you will need some stylus. And if you wish, you can also use some tweezers to help you hold the pieces. And you will use a shaper foam. This shaper foam helps shape the petals and rounding them out. So the first thing that you want to do with your shaper foam is place your flowers on it. And then from there, we're going to shape our petals. So what you want to do is go around the edges and bring it in. Around the edges and bring it in. And you basically want to do this on each of these flowers. Bring it in on the outside edge. And that automatically makes it curl. So out of these 5, we're going to do 1 bud. That's going to be the center of our flower. And then we're going to do 2 layers of petals, and then 2 layers of inverted petals, which will be the outside or the largest section of the flower. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to do our bud. So we're going to place these on the side, and we're going to do our bud. So you want to press kind of in the middle to do your bud. And what I like to do is once I've kind of curled it, I'm going to flip it to the other side. And with my glue, I'm going to add a tiny little dab of glue. Oh, whoops, that one's had a lot. A tiny little dab of glue on each petal. And then we're going to just shape it into our little bud. So basically all you're doing is you're overlapping your petals and curling them. And then just holding it in for a few minutes. The white glue, I use the Fast Grab Tacky Aleene's glue. So it does actually dry quite fast. And once it's dry, all we want to do is make sure that your bottom is flat. So that when we come to add it to the next layer, your bottom is flat. So that's basically your little center bud. So the next thing you want to do is we're going to grab 1 more layer. Going to open it up slightly, and we're going to put 1 little dab of glue in the center. Now you can use your hands or you can use tweezers. I prefer to just use my hands, so I'm just going to grab my little bud and I'm going to just put it right in the middle of this. And we're going to give that a few seconds to dry. So you're going to take the next 2, and these are going to be your outer layers. You're going to flip these over. And once you flip these over, you want to go in the center and create a little divot, like a little. So we're going to do that on both of these. And we're going to put these 2 layers together. So 1 little dab of glue on the bottom layer. And what you want to do is when you put this one on top is you want to offset it. So offset it. And we're just going to kind of hold it in the middle here. And we're going to let that dry. And that's going to be the outside 2 layers of our flower. So once this one is dry, we can kind of curl these up a little bit. And now we're going to do this next layer. And again, we're going to put 1 little dab of glue. And then we're going to take this one. And again, you want to offset your petals. And you want to put this one right in the middle. I'm going to give that a second to dry. While that's drying, this is optional. You don't have to do this next step. But what you can do is with a pair of tweezers, if you wish, you can come and just curl the very edge of that outside petal. Again, like I said, this is optional. You don't have to do this part. And now we're ready to glue it on the 2 back layers. So again, one more little dab of glue. And then grab this one. And again, you want to offset your petals. And I usually like to come in just with my stylus and kind of hold it down the middle to make sure it's glued well. And that is basically your little rosebud. Now from here, if you want to, you can come in, you can add some little leaves. But I'm going to show you this one more time. And this time we're going to do it with the slightly smaller ones. So these are great if you do card making or if you're doing these for fillers. And it's basically the same process. So you're going to punch out 5 of your little flowers. This is just a small punch. So I punched out 5 of these. Now these can also be made with cardstock. They can be made with paper. They both work fairly well. So it's really your choice or what you have on hand. So what you want to do, same thing, is and curl it in, push in on the outside. And as you push in, you'll notice that it has a tendency to curl. It almost automatically makes your little bud. So the same thing on this one. Now the 2 outside layers, I try not to roll it in so much because I want it to stay open. So I just literally am only pressing the outside of all 5 petals. And then I'm going to flip these 2 over and do one in the middle. And we're ready to go. So on this one again, we're going to create our little bud first. So you want to open this up. Now you may want to use tweezers on this one because it is really tiny. We're going to add a tiny little dab of glue on each little petal so that when you squeeze it together, it'll stay formed. Whoops, it's so tiny it sticks to your fingers. So what you want to do is close this up and just squeeze it tight and create your tiny, tiny little bud. And it is tiny. This is the little bud that we're going to be using in our flower. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use another layer. You're going to open it up a little bit. You're going to put a tiny little dab of glue in the center. And this time you might want to use some tweezers just because it's very hard to kind of get your fingers in there. So grab your little bud. Whoops. It is really little. And put it in the center of your flower. Hold it there for a couple of seconds. And let that dry for a second or 2. It doesn't take very long to dry. We're going to use our next layer. And again, we're going to put one little dot. Actually, while that's drying, why don't we do our back ones? We're going to put one little dot in the middle of that. And we're going to add this outside layer and again, offset your petals. And then while that's drying, we're going to come back and we're going to finish the top of this one. So 1 dab of glue. And now we're going to grab this little guy. And again, you want to offset your petals. This one's really tiny. So if you want to see all your layers, sometimes you have to pull back your little petals. And maybe on this side too. Pull back your little petal from the layer you just added. And then from that, now we're going to add 1 little dab of glue into our back 2 layers. And again, you want to lay this one on and you want to slightly offset it. And I like to just use my little stylus here to press it in. Oops, there we go. And there you go. And there's your little tiny rosebud. And just like the first one, if you want to, you can come and add a couple of little leaves. And they're actually fairly easy to make. They're a little bit pricey when you're buying them already made. So this is something that you may enjoy doing with some of your leftovers because it doesn't require a whole lot. You can make them in any size. And they're a great little project to add, a great little piece, to, embellishment to add to your card making. I hope you enjoyed our little project today. If you did, please don't forget to comment and subscribe so that you don't miss any new projects coming along in the near future. And thanks for joining us today.